FPL double game week 34 is here, and today I'm going to take you through my first transfer plans, what I'm going to do with my team going into the double. Of course, I have 2 free transfers this week, and I'm playing my wildcard next week in game week 35, so I have 2 transfers to bring in players just for this double game week. I'm going to be talking about the players I'm considering, potentially what has changed after the Premier League results that we've had today, both Liverpool and Arsenal losing without scoring a goal between them. So that has put a little bit of cat amongst the pigeons in terms of some of the players we're considering, some of those performances today. So today we'll have a look at my first team selection, what I think I'm going to do for game week 34. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 1,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. And it is the double game week. We have been waiting for it. We have been using transfers over the past few weeks to get to it. Now, some of you might be playing your free hit this week, and there will be a video out later in the week looking specifically at a free hit draft if you are considering that or you're playing your free hit this week. So bear in mind that I'm not on free hit this week. I'm wildcarding in game week 35. Then my bench boost will be played in game week 37. So I have 2 free transfers this week to basically bring in players I think are the best for the double game week. That is most likely to be players with the double. However, with the performances we've seen, particularly by Wolves over the past couple of days, and then Liverpool and Arsenal both losing today, is a little bit of doubt in my mind exactly about some of the players that I did really plan on bringing in, then maybe I'm not 100% sure on. So looking at my team for game week 34 at the moment, I have 9 double game week players in my starting lineup at the moment. So Jordan Pickford in goal, Gabriel Zabani and Ben White. Very lucky with Ben White in game week 33. Of course, Arsenal did not keep a clean sheet, but he got subbed off with a yellow card after 65 minutes before they conceded any goals. So he did get a 5-pointer today. Into midfield, we have Saka, Luis Diaz and Salah. Son is in there at the moment over Cole Palmer because I know I'm going to sell Son this week. I don't really want to sell Cole Palmer because I have a lot of value tied up in him. Son doesn't have as much value up in him. He is having a blank fixture this week and I can wildcard him back in game week 35 if I decide I want him, because Spurs have not been great recently either. Then up front it is Mateta, Haaland at the moment and Dominic Solanke. So the 2 obvious places to use my 2 free transfers are Son out and Erling Haaland out. Now, there is a very, very small part of me that actually wonders about replacing Zabani instead. Away to Aston Villa and away to Wolves for the Bournemouth defence is pretty shocking in terms of double game week. I'm expecting known clean sheets for them. However, I don't expect clean sheets for many players going into this double, so it doesn't really make sense to use my transfer there. So, as I've said, the 2 free transfers this week will be Son out and Erling Haaland out. It feels like Palmer, Doughty and Gusto are on my bench, away at Arsenal for the 2 Chelsea boys. So no consideration to play my bench boost this week. My bench is not nearly strong enough. If your bench looks decent this week, maybe you've got 1 Arsenal, you've got some better fixtures on there, then maybe Manchester City, you're keeping Haaland, then yes, consider playing your bench boost. But Areola's injured, Doughty and Luton can't keep a clean sheet, and then 2 players away at Arsenal, it definitely doesn't sit right for me. So first up, looking at those potential replacements for Erling Haaland. Going into this week, it felt obvious to me that it was going to be Darwin Núñez in for Erling Haaland. However, the Liverpool result against Atalanta on Thursday night, followed by this game, and Darwin's performances over the past few weeks have left me with a little bit of doubt in my mind about whether I'm going to do that. Diogo Jota definitely could get a start in the double. I'm not massively sure he's 100% fully fit and whether Klopp will want to risk him starting matches. So I do think Darwin will start at least one of these, but it does mean if I think he's only going to start one, should I look at alternatives? Now, Darwin's data, underlying data, we know is crazy good. He has the best data out of all the forwards that I consider. Now, I've already got Solanke and I've already got Mateta, and I really like them for their double. They've got good doubles. They've got good fixtures. I think they can score some goals there. But the other 2 forwards that I potentially consider, now, it's really Darwin versus Cunha of Wolves. The issue with going with Cunha is he has a fixture against Arsenal. Now, Arsenal did just concede 2 to Aston Villa, but generally you've got to think that that's a very difficult fixture for any team going up against Arsenal. So it is basically just a Bournemouth at home fixture plus a very difficult game. Whereas Darwin, if he only starts 1, still the fixtures look much better for Darwin. Now, Cunha has been really, really good recently. The underlying data is actually pretty strong for him as well. 0.73 goals or assists per 90 so far this season. Has slightly outperformed his numbers, but even that, he's done quite well, particularly recently. And with Hwang Hee-chan and Sarabia looking on good form, Hwang Hee-chan coming back from injury, definitely think that Cunha could do well in the double. It's just that Arsenal fixture that does put me off. Now, the other one is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Of course, Everton do play on Monday night, so no chance I would buy him or even do major consideration for him coming into my team until that comes out the way. But his underlying data is pretty good, and he has 2 home fixtures in the double against Forest and then Liverpool, who are conceding goals at the moment. Just with Calvert-Lewin's injury record, with Beto getting some minutes at Everton, don't massively expect Calvert-Lewin to actually start both in the double. I think he'll start one, probably the Forest game, because that is a massive game for them, and then he might not start against Liverpool. So it's really Cunha versus Darwin. Darwin just feels the better, well, he feels the more straightforward pick. A better double on paper, although they are both away. His underlying data is better, but you can't help but watch Darwin and watch Liverpool at the moment and think, I'm walking into a trap by buying Darwin at the moment, looking at their recent performances. And Cunha just scored 2 goals at the weekend and could definitely do that again. So at the moment, I'm probably 60% Darwin, 40% Cunha. But before the weekend, before Thursday night when they lost to Atalanta, it was probably 90% Darwin, 10% anyone else. So there has been a massive drop in me. Now, what could potentially change this? Of course, they play Atalanta again on Thursday evening. If Darwin starts that again and Jota's on the bench, and I think there's a decent chance that Darwin doesn't start both in the double, then potentially I will look to go with Cunha. That is a match that could massively change my transfer plans. Because I'm downgrading Haaland and Son, money is not a problem. I don't need to move early on these transfers. So I will not be making a transfer until at least Thursday evening, until at least those all European games are out of the way, of course, because Arsenal have got the double, but they also have European against Bayern. So if something was to happen to Saka or one of my Arsenal players, then potentially I'd be forced into a transfer there. So Darwin is favoured at the moment, but I will not be doing anything until Europe is out of the way. Now, looking at those midfield options. So looking at Liverpool, if I think Darwin is a minutes issue, then maybe I should go with Jota. His underlying data so far this season is crazy good. 1.26 goals or assists per 90. Now, the reason that's so high is because he rarely plays 90, so it does get a little bit inflated. But even his underlying data is still pretty solid. However, his underlying numbers are lower than the other two on this list in Sarabia and Eze, who I do think will start both in the double. So despite me liking Jota as a punt, I don't think I'm going to go there. I'd rather go Darwin than Jota at the moment. Now, Sarabia at Wolves, I look at Hwang Hee-chan and he's just come back from injury. They were pretty cautious with Cunha, and I'm not sure Hwang Hee-chan's going to start both in the double. There's a chance, of course. He'll definitely start at least one. Is he going to start both? I'm not sure on it. So if I was buying a Wolves midfielder, it would be Sarabia. He's on penalties we've seen recently, but with Cunha and Hwang Hee-chan both starting games recently, we don't know if that's going to hold up. But even without that, the underlying data is really nice. The thing is with Sarabia, he's a really nice enabler at 4.7 million, and I don't really need an enabler at the moment. I'm downgrading Son and Haaland, so I have all the money in the world to buy a replacement. And of course, as I spoke with Cunha, has Arsenal in one of the two in the double. So the player who I still think, now Darwin I've changed my mind a little bit on, but Eze, a goal today against Liverpool feels like the one I will go and buy. 2 home fixtures in the double against West Ham and Newcastle, 2 teams who are conceding chances at the moment. Now, Newcastle's defensive numbers have actually been a little bit better, and they've kept 2 clean sheets on the bounce, but I do think that Eze is the one I'll go with. Online data has been pretty consistent over a very long period of time as well. As I said, 2 home games and 2 games I expect Crystal Palace to score in. Now, the only thing about that is I already own Mateta, so I would be doubling up on the Crystal Palace attack, and maybe I should go with 1 Wolves attacker, 1 Crystal Palace attacker, but I just think that Eze is a better option. Now, the other player worth, of course, looking at is Elise. Elise has come back from injury more recently than Eze. He played 60 minutes against Liverpool today. It feels like, again, a bit like the Wolves players, they're easing him in a little bit. And going into the double, that will probably be the same again. He might start both, but he might play 60 in both, whereas Eze is more likely to play 80, 90 in both, like he did today. So Eze, just for the security of minutes, I'm not certain enough on Elise. If he'd come back and maybe started the past 2, maybe I'd look at Elise, but right now I feel like it has to be Eze. So looking at my team again for this week, because I'm wildcarding 35, it's just 2 one-week punts for the double. Son and Haaland out. And then at the moment, Darwin is very close to Cunha. I'd probably, 60% Darwin, 40% Cunha. And then Eze feels like a 75-80% chance. I don't really think I'll go anywhere else. The only thing that would put me off is, of course, an update in the press comments that he's injured or something and not wanting to go on a double Crystal Palace attack. But at the moment, I think Eze is pretty likely. Darwin, feels slightly more likely, but let's wait, of course, until all the Arsenal players, the Liverpool players have played their European fixtures this week, because that, of course, could change things. There will be an update later in the week. There'll also be an update for those of you playing your free hit, as we plan for the final, I think, 6 weeks of the season now. We are in the run-in, final few weeks. We've got, I think, 5 game weeks left. 3 of them are doubles, 2 chips we played. This is the business end in the season, and it starts with double game week 34. I'm sure the results today for both Arsenal and Liverpool leave a lot of questions in your mind as well. The big one is captaincy. It moved from Salah to Saka after the Liverpool result, and then after the Arsenal result, I moved it back from Saka to Salah. So I'm very undecided on captaincy at the moment. There are others that could get differential shouts, but it's probably going to end up being on one of those. If you're actually considering playing your triple captain this week, given the performances of those 2 teams, I would potentially consider holding it and playing it on maybe Palmer in game week 35, or hold it for game week 37 if you're not going to play your bench boost. But yeah, I'm sure you have lots of questions about your team, about the performances today, what it means for the double. Drop it all in the comment section down below. One key question I get whenever a double game week rolls around and people are playing your free hit: if you are playing your free hit, you cannot use your free transfer and then activate your free hit. That player you brought in before activating your free hit will just become part of the free hit. You will not have that player in your game week 35 team. So hopefully that answers a lot of the question that will get asked on this video for those of you free hitting, but I've tried to do the outro about 3 times on this video already. So thank you for watching. Drop any questions you have in the comment section down below. 1,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here, and we'll be back again very soon.